So Cassie, do you want me to go ahead and read the statement and kick us off?
Yeah, let's go ahead if you guys are ready.
Okay. It is 6:03, and I will now call to order the January 24th meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Please note the following. Actually, I don't have access to the full thing we're supposed to read, Cassie.
Yeah, I can read it if you want. Let me pull it up. I'm going to stop my screen. This is basically just telling everyone if something happens, everything's continued to February 14th, but in theory, everything should be fine. So let me stop the share. And okay, I can read this part if that's okay with you.
Perfect.
Okay. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, as extended on June 15, 2021, with the governor's signing of Senate Bill number 2475, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found below on the agenda. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton's website an audio or video recording, transcript, and other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the meeting ends abruptly, the meeting will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting.
Thank you, Cassie. Are there any public concerns or non-agenda items?
I have not received any, and I believe everyone else in attendance here is for an item that's on the agenda.
All right, moving on to public hearings. Our first order of business is a public hearing continued from January 10th for the notice of intent filed by Lathrop Community Inc. at 100 Bassett Brook Drive, map 104, lot 202, for improvements to existing trail network, Mass DEP file number 1510315.
Yeah, they are requesting again to continue. I did get a more comprehensive update from them. The project kind of got derailed because they shifted focus to working on their conservation restriction for the same property, which has been achieved as far as I understand it. And then they are now looking to try to get a delineation in the spring. So it's delayed for that reason, but yeah, they're requesting to continue again tonight to the next meeting.
Okay. But it sounds like they're not expecting to have anything until spring.
Yeah, they didn't give me an exact date, but that is kind of what they were indicating. I don't know how you guys want to do it, if you want to continue it further, or they just didn't specify a date when they would be ready. So I wasn't sure. Okay.
We can just continue to the next meeting for now, but if you talk with them again, maybe see if they have a date in mind and we can continue it further out.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
All right, motion to continue to February 14th at 6 p.m.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. Commissioner Ryan?
Aye.
Commissioner August?
Aye.
Commissioner Buttrick?
Aye.
I believe Commissioner Whittemore is not present.
Correct.
So motion carries. Thank you. Next order of business. Public hearing continued from January 10th, 2021 for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Heritage Land Surveying and Engineering on behalf of Jeffrey Wolak, Our Lady of the Valley Parish at 109 Everett Street, map 146, lot 1 for resource area delineation, Mass DEP file number 1510318.
Hi, I'm Lisa Narkowitz from Heritage Land Surveying. Can I share my screen and put up the plan that we revised?
Yeah, sorry, you just made you a code.
Okay. So at the last meeting, there was a question as to the riverfront on the property. And myself, Mark Reed from my office, and Dan Nitschke from GZA went out. And Dan flagged the mean annual high water line of the perennial stream. And we went back out there and survey located the mean annual high water line on both the north and south side of the road, as well as there are corrugated metal pipes that go from a manhole in the street above the head wall on either side of the road. And then we located the culvert and added that to the plan and placed the 200-foot riverfront, which terminates as it enters into Lower Mill Pond. I have a couple pictures too. So this is Brickyard Brook that ends up flowing into Lower Mill Pond, and that is on the north side of the road. And then this is on the south side of the road, and the culvert is over here, and then it meanders. And then that was the furthest point on the meander was flagged and survey located, which represents where this new riverfront line shown from 200 feet from that meander. And Dan Nitschke provided supplemental report on that. And we also provided the certified mailing showing that they were delivered. And I also modified, there was a question as to the street didn't look like it was centered in the right of way, which I went online and looked up at the Registry of Deeds, and whoever had drafted it originally put the right of way as being 50-foot wide, but it's actually a 40-foot wide. So now it appears more correctly, showing that the pavement is centered in the roadway. I'm not sure if there are any additional questions.
The only other things maybe to point out just that was requested at the last meeting was the removal of those additional markers that didn't have any actual flags associated with them, and then the correction of the date.
Yeah, oh yeah. So those extra flags were removed, and then I modified the note to state that the original delineation was on April 19th, and then also that we went back out and did the riverfront delineation on January 14th.
Dan, is there anything else that we should know about the perennial stream or the addition of the riverfront area that wasn't covered?
No, I think the picture that Lisa offered was good because there is a defined channel, as you could see in that image, up until a point where it enters the essentially the main part of the lake and becomes non-riverine at that point. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting because I think that section we show does show on the USGS as extending a little bit north of Everett Street. So I think and you can see the line there. In the distance on that stream channel on the far left is a little bit of green, a little bit more, Lisa, to your left. No, left.
Oh.
Yeah. So back in there is where my last flag is, where the stream intersects the body of water. So I think we got that. In the riverfront area, this mean annual high is just off of the property line, so that's why we didn't get it before. Mm-hmm. But it does project onto this land. So I think the delineation, the ANRAD, is a lot more accurate now. You have every resource on that property is now identified. And getting the meander on the other side of the stream, I think, was helpful to make sure that we've got it all covered.
Yeah.
But it does, as you can see, it doesn't extend beyond the tree line that's out there. So it's on the slope, on the mid slope. So it's not within an area that any work is being proposed.
And just for clarification, we're not looking at any proposed work at this stage anyways, just the resource delineation.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the commission?
No.
All right, Cassie, I do not have the ANRAD form in front of me. So would you be so kind as to let us know what our options are specifically for the motions we might choose to make?
Yes, hold on one second. Let me pull.
And while you're doing that, I'll ask if there's any further comment from the public.
I've not received any written comments, and I don't know that anyone here has any other comments to add. All right, if there's none, I can review the options for rulings that you are motions that you can make.
Please.
For if you are to issue an order of resource area delineation, you can either find that it is accurate, being that the boundaries described on the reference plans in the ANRAD that was submitted are accurately drawn and for the following resource areas, bordering vegetated wetlands and other resources, which I would specifically add Riverfront Area and bank in this instance. And then the other option is to find it as modified. The boundaries described in the plans referenced above as modified by the Conservation Commission from the plans contained in the ANRAD are accurately drawn from the following resource areas, same as described before. Or you can find that it is inaccurate. The boundaries described in the reference plans in the ANRAD were found to be inaccurate and cannot be confirmed for the following resource areas. And then you would put an explanation of why they were determined to be inaccurate. So in this instance, it does seem that they had, through the commission's review, that they may have been modified. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Or if they were just accurate. And this is my first one, to be honest, so I'm not sure which one is more appropriate.
That was actually going to be my question as well. I think that we can say accurate and note is there an amended date on this plan?
Yeah.
Can we see the notations, please?
Yep, January 19th.
So I think we could, if we want to accept this plan, I think we could say accurate as described in the plan submitted with the January 19th revisions.
Yep, and just to add, I'm seeing now in the general information section of the form that we would issue, it says date and title or revised date if applicable. So that's appropriate, it sounds like.
Great. Would anyone care to make a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that the plans modified for the delineation are accurate to the January 19th date.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. All those in favor, Commissioner August?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan?
Aye.
Commissioner Buttrick?
He might have access issues. I just saw that he was in the waiting room and is joining now.
Commissioner Whittemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Buttrick, are you back with us?
Sorry, both my screens kicked off, so I can't actually see what's going on. But yes, I am with you, and I am voting aye. And now I'm going to try to get this sorted out.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, motion carries.
I don't know if you saw my previous email about taking items out of order. I don't know, Jay, did you have something to add? Sorry.
I did see the email, so
Yeah, I was going to make a request that carrying on with the items that were continued from the last meeting first, that the next item taken out of agenda order would be item 7L for 6973 Loudville Road.
so I'll make a motion that we take 7L out of order.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Commissioner August?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll take 7L. R. Levesque Associates, Inc., 69 and 73 Loudville Road, Mass DEP file number 1510309 for new 18-unit housing development, map 140-139, lot 28, 2911.
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates. Hope everyone's doing well. Last time we had talked about this project, we had submitted some site plan revisions regarding the layout, mostly to the building units, and then there was some other items of discussion that were still unresolved. And I believe tonight mostly that discussion is about the conservation monument markers that were to be placed along the proposed limit of work. Last week, I met out on site with Cassie and a few other members to review and kind of conceptualize and see firsthand what the spacing and distance would be. Originally, the order of conditions called for monuments to be placed along the limit of work every 25 feet. And just out of, sake for the applicant's effort and cost, that seemed maybe a little excessive in some areas, but warranted in others. So rather than assigning a fixed linear distance between markers, we thought it'd be best to put together a plan, which is what you see here, showing where the markers would be. So the limit of work is this black line with SF for silt fence. And then these red markers would be where the proposed locations are. So you can see in areas, along the buffer zone or the limit of work, they're at key vertices to maintain that permitted limit of work line. But then once you get into areas that maybe aren't as sensitive, we've spaced them out 50 feet or so. So these are the proposed locations. I believe there's 39 of them in total. What we are proposing for the markers would be a piece of steel rebar, maybe 3 or 4 feet long. They'd be driven into the ground, and then various companies make these plastic molded caps, and you can get any sort of custom language or signage put on them, and those would go on top of the rebar, kind of like a protector, and they would have a label and a high visibility color. So that's what we were thinking. Happy to listen to your guys' thoughts.
Ryan, I have a couple of questions. Can you give me a sense, first off, looking, for instance, at the markers on the left-hand side by units 4 and 5, what would the longer distance between those two lowermost markers be?
Sure, I can measure it for you. Give me 1 second. In that case, it's about 100 feet.
And what was the decision-making process there, that none were needed more frequently than that?
It was a straight line. It was at the edge. It would be along, the edge of work in the backyard. It seemed pretty apparent. In other areas where there's more turns, we obviously have them closer. Like here, it's 40 feet. We can certainly add more if you think that's warranted. Just kind of given a baseline.
And the tree line as shown remains, or is this going to be lawn area? Can you remind us, please?
Sure. So this lighter halftone gray line is existing edge of woods. So the squiggly line is the existing meadow edge, and then proposed edge is along the silt fence. So these would ideally be placed, right on the edge of the yard that would be visible.
And when the markers, when the rebar is driven into the ground, how much is going to remain sticking out with the marker?
I don't know if we've settled on that. My thoughts would be maybe 6 inches or a foot, somewhere around there. Could be
The ones
taller.
I've seen usually stick out a little further than that, because as things grow, they'll just disappear.
That's true. Yeah, the height really doesn't matter to us. Whatever you guys feel is best.
And are all of the markers, if you could zoom out again, maybe, are all of the markers shown at edge of the new woods line? Or
Yes.
some of the...
Yes.
So I think, I mean, one of the primary things that we want to accomplish with these markers is to make it very clear that there's to be no clearing or mowing beyond this line by any of the owners in the end. There are some areas like the one that I asked you to look at first, where I wonder if more frequent markers would be helpful to convey that. I see a couple other areas like behind 17 and 18 where I might have a similar concern. I wonder what other commissioners are thinking.
Yeah, I think in those long areas, we should at least add one marker in the middle and make it so that it's, no longer than 50 feet.
Okay, yeah, that would put it pretty much right in the middle, so that's fine.
Right.
I have a question. Thank you. So limit of work and the existing edge are the same?
Not exactly. So the limit of work and the proposed edge are one and the same. So limit of work is where the contractor installs the silt fence, and they're going to clear all the vegetation up to the silt fence.
Okay, because I had looked back in the August 2020 meeting minutes where we had discussed this. And I had posed a question to Mr. Levesque about post-construction. We talked about, I had asked if they could put a fence or a barrier to maintain the area, and he recommended no because of the possibility of the passage of wildlife. But he did support the idea of some kind of a marker to maintain the edge to prevent encroachment. So is limit of work markers going to be in a different area than edge markers? Are we talking about one area?
It's the same line. Limit of work and silt fence and the marker line is all the same line.
Okay, so if you're putting in the rebar, can you, because it does have to be visible, can you paint it a certain color? And if as Jay was saying, you have it a certain amount above the ground, 3 feet, 4 feet, so people can see it. And
yes, so painting, at first is a good idea. Obviously, paint after a year or so fades away. So what we're proposing are these plastic caps that go on top of the rebar, and they're a high visibility color, kind of like a surveyor's tape color. They come in all different types of colors. You can have them printed to say whatever you'd like on them. So that's what we were proposing.
And how large are those markers, Ryan?
Maybe 2-3 inches, I would think.
Sorry, Deborah, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you have another question?
That's fine. I was just going to ask about those two. How long do they last? Who is going to maintain the markers, the visibility, and the permanence?
Sure. So maintenance, I'm assuming whoever's taking care of the property would mow up to them, I would think. As far as how long they've last, out surveying, I've seen these markers that were set in the 90s that are still there. So they're made to last. Obviously, the rebar is not going anywhere.
Ryan, can you remind us, I don't recall if the intent is that this will be managed by a homeowners association or if these are all going to be individual private homes in the end with their own lots and maintenance.
This would be an association with probably like a landscape company that would maintain it.
And Cassie, did we have a requirement for, I'm assuming we had a requirement for a long-term O&M plan, correct?
Yep, and there's also a condition that talks about the rules of the homeowner association that are going to get developed, and how those need to include. I can look for the wording exactly, but basically, what it says in the order is that it needs to ensure that no dumping or encroachment can happen within, the 100-foot buffer zones, no additional alteration. So that language needs to be in the homeowners. All the in perpetuity conditions need to be in the language of the homeowners rules.
And those have not been developed yet. Is that correct? The O&M plan, I mean.
I don't think I received
it submitted.
Yeah, it's a pre-construction requirement, so I don't have to have had it yet, but I haven't received them yet. It's also a requirement that I believe that there's also a condition requiring that the rules are submitted to us, the homeowner association rules, but that is not a pre-construction requirement.
Right.
If I remember correctly, I believe it's a certificate of compliance requirement.
Okay.
So is everybody okay if we say the rebar needs to stick out between 2 and 3 feet?
I think that makes sense. I like that better than having it too low and having it get lost in the weeds.
Right.
Yes.
Ryan, from an aesthetic standpoint, is that going to make sense for your client?
I think so. Yep, that should be fine.
All right, so we've discussed adding some additional markers to make sure that they're not more than 50 feet apart at the long stretch. It looks like we may need another one kind of on the corner south of number 4 as well.
Maybe
Yeah,
there.
kind of there.
Yep.
And I think it would make sense to include in the O&M plan that we're going to be looking for as pre-construction some language as to maintenance of these and making sure that it's very clear what the meaning of the markers is and how they're to be interpreted in terms of any landscaping or maintenance that's being done to yards or wooded areas for that matter.
Okay.
Are there any further comments or questions from the commission?
I have a question. I mean, might have already covered this. Are the caps going to say on them, or is there going to be any words on the caps that say either no dumping or no mowing beyond or something like that, or conservation area beyond?
Sure. So yeah, we could have them, some flexibility to have them say whatever. Ones I've seen in the past: conservation zone, do not disturb, or whatever language you guys feel is appropriate.
Conservation boundary.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how much space is on there, but I guess it's conservation boundary, and then you could say no mowing / dumping or something like that. I don't know if we want to get that wordy on it. It's up to the commission really at the end, I guess.
Yeah, there may not be that much space looking at the photos of them.
I think I think there was a character limit on the page that you showed a minute ago.
Let's see. Yeah, you can have two different lines of text and
13 characters.
Yep.
Other comments or questions? And Ryan, you are specifically looking today for us to approve the type of the markers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there was also, in addition to that, approval of the environmental monitor for the project. And for that, we would like to, so Arlevec Associates, specifically myself, would be the proposed monitor for the project.
And did you submit any summary of your qualifications in writing?
I have not, but I can do that tomorrow. I can send it over to Cassie.
That'd be excellent. And while we're all here, would you be so kind as to give us a brief oral summary as well?
Sure. So obviously I've been working for RLA for a little over 6 years now. In that time, I've done many delineations. I'm also a registered soil scientist of Southern New England. My education is in soil science. I've done probably a couple hundred SWIPs preparations, maybe 50 or so sites of monitoring under an active SWIP. I'm trying to think of any recent ones I've done in Easthampton, but that you guys would be familiar with, but it's certainly not my first time.
Any questions from the commission for Ryan? All right, so Ryan, if you could please submit a summary of your credentials in writing to Cassie, that would be excellent.
Sure.
And I think my sense, if there are no further comments, is that we've agreed on a plan for the markers. I'd like to see the final addition with the few changes that we talked about made to the plan that shows where the markers are going to be. So we'll have a copy of that. You could submit that to Cassie. And as we discussed, we would like to see language about how those are going to be maintained in the O&M plan when it's submitted.
Okay, will do.
I don't think there's any need to make a formal motion. Is there, Cassie?
I don't think so. I can just put in the record that you guys are approving the monitor, and it sounds like you're approving the design of the markers with those noted changes. Is that correct?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Good night.
Okay, so the next item I was hoping to take would be item 5C for 20 Pine Street.
Motion to take 5C out of order.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Commissioner August?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan?
Aye.
Commissioner Buttrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll take item 5C, enforcement actions, D. Couture, 20 Pine Street, map 150, lot 258. Is there someone here to speak on that matter?
Dean is here. My name's Dean Kuchar. I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Just making sure I did this right. But I'm here. I'm the owner of 20 Pine Street.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Do you want me to, Dean, it's up to you if you want me to give a summary of what you and I discussed first, and then you can go, or if you want to just give the summary yourself.
That'd be great, Cassie. I appreciate it. Sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So, as the commission knows, I sent a letter and I got a response from Dean pretty promptly, and he was able to explain the history of that area and the work that was done. Also, we conducted a site visit on the 20th of January. So Dean explained that the dock was there when he bought the property in May 2020, but it needed repairs, so he made the repairs to it. I also was able to find aerial imagery confirming that the dock is there at least as old as 2005. Earlier pictures may exist, but they're too blurry for me to discern if it was there or not. He also explained that when he went to get hit to the building department to get a building permit for this work and the other work that was done for the rehabilitation of the house, that he did ask if Concom needed to be, addressed at all, and they told him that it wasn't. I didn't receive the building permit for review on my end. However, a building permit was obtained. Let's see, and I've got a copy of the building permit, which is in the file. The building permit describes the work as demo interior and leaving footprint as is, new electrical, siding, windows, insulated, and all interior finishes. Also noted that there have been 3 different building inspectors since this process began for Mr. Couture, and the house has been sold, but the closing isn't until the 3rd week in February, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So that's kind of the status of the sale too, if the commission was curious about that. I can share the pictures that I got from the site visit now if you guys want, or we can we can wait. It's up to you guys.
Dean, could you give us some more information about what was done when you rebuilt the dock, in particular, work to the bank or the area underwater in the pond?
Okay, nothing underwater. There's kind of like, there are 3 docks there. None are in very good shape, but there's, from the previous owner, they explained that they're in cement underground, and you could kind of stand on them when I bought the property, but they are 2 feet out of level. They were really just bad shape, but they weren't really falling down or anything. So all I did is kind of put new boards on top and made those new boards level. It's kind of like, basically what I did is if you had a deck in your backyard and the deck boards were rotting, I just put new deck boards on top. That's kind of what I did, if that makes any sense. I didn't do anything to the bank. I apologize if you did ask about the bank. I didn't do anything to the bank. There's stairs that go down the bank. I did repair and fix and replace those as I needed. They were also rotted, but I didn't change any of it. Basically did it exactly the way it was there. I hope that explains it, but I can answer any questions.
And do we have photos of the prior conditions available?
Prior condition, there were pictures of the upland area of the house on the assessor's record. I don't know if you have any pictures, Dean, of what it looks like before. The only thing that I would have would be aerial imagery, which we looked at the last meeting, but something close to the ground, I don't have that.
I never took a photo before we put the new deck boards on top. I apologize. I didn't do that.
I can share the pictures from the site visit if you want now, just to see kind of.
You can see it through those photos, or the old dock and the new dock boards. You can see it. Right. It might be hard to see with the photos, but you can see it.
Yeah, I tried to get pictures of the existing structure. This is an overview of the whole thing. It's a little closer.
So in that photo, yeah, you can see our 2 shadows. You can see that exactly. That's the right there. That cursor is showing the old frame and just kind of put new boards on top. So those are brand new boards kind of under the snow there on top of the old dock.
Yeah, and then this old, you can kind of see there's this piece that extends to the right and this part that extends into the ground.
And beneath that goes into concrete somewhere, which I didn't go under the water at all. I just attached right to the old structure that was still existing above water. I didn't change the size of it or anything. That angled board you see there is covering the old dock so that you didn't see the old disgusting boards, because the old dock, like I said, was kind of sloped, and I just put new boards on level so that you could kind of stand on it, obviously, and not slide into the water. So that board is kind of covering it, but you can still see it in there. That's remnants of the old dock. One of them was disintegrated, really, and disappeared in the 1.5 years that I owned the property.
You can kind of see it maybe down there. I'm not sure. There's some more.
Yep. Yeah, that old rusted steel frame is the one that was there.
This is the stairs. Sorry, it looks kind of crazy from this angle.
Yeah, so those were kind of rebuilt. That sticks in the ground about 1 inch or 2, maybe 3 inches max. But that's it. That's what the old one did, and that's kind of how I fixed the same exact thing that was there.
Man, I think that's it. All right, this is just the rest of the house. So the fence that was replaced with that new fence, the deck, the repaving of the driveway, and the 100-foot buffer zone kind of extends to the porch / midway through the porch. Is a rough guess on my part.
It looked like there was a piece of the dock that's floating on like barrels. Is that an extension of the existing footprint?
That one was there. It was kind of like, it was when I bought the house in May last year, it was kind of like tied off to one corner and kind of floating around with a wire. And all I did is kind of moved it so it looks a little more square. And then I put a little bolt that you can actually see in that photo, keeping it from going anywhere. Yeah, right there.
So would you say that you have changed the footprint of what was existing at all?
Not of the dock. Well, you know what? To be quite honest, there was a post in one of the photos that Cassie had up. It was a picture of just a steel post. So there were some boards kind of half in the water and half out that were just kind of rotten that I did remove. And I think it was remnants of a dock. But if that would be the only thing of changing a footprint, it turned into mush when we pulled it out.
Mm-hmm.
But that was kind of the only thing. I think there was a dock over there, but it was really kind of hard to tell. It was, like I said, it was just kind of half in the water, half out, rotten. There was a lot of trash in that area, actually. But that would be the only, I guess, quote unquote, change of a footprint. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do other commissioners have questions, comments?
So you think this goes back before 2005?
That seemed to be what I was able to find on the aerial imagery. I was using like this website that provides aerial imagery. That was the oldest one that looked like to me. I can share that picture if you guys want to see, if you agree, or that that's what that is. Let's see. Let's see, it's from historicaerials.com. And I was guessing that that was what this extension was here from what I perceived to be the shoreline. Again, still blurry.
Yeah, see, so if you walk down the stairs, the old, that floating one that was on barrels was off to the left as you walk down those stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of made it a little more square. If the square meaning straight out now, when it was tied off with literally electric wires. They weren't live, but that's what was kind of holding it together. And I just attached it a little more level, if you will, with a bolt.
Any other questions or comments? Cassie, I can't recall. Did you reach out to DEP at all about the situation, or were we still prior to that?
I did, but it was primarily to ask about, because before I was able to make contact with Mr. Couture, we didn't know what the situation would be, that, if it was for sale or how we would pursue it, because of the nature of this, who's the owner question. And now that we have contact with Dean, I don't know if I can explain what he told me. Let me go back a little bit at my notes just to make sure there wasn't anything else about it. But that was primary concern of my discussion with DEP, because at that time, my understanding was that the deck was like brand new. I didn't know Dean's side of it. So I mainly was asking about if the property owner was changing. Let me see. Yeah. The question was like wondering if it would make sense to, if we did issue enforcement order, tie it to the deed so that it would be with whoever is the property owner. And DEP generally said that, it's possible. It's been done in some communities. It's not super common, so there's not a lot of examples of it. I did get an example of like it was done in Great Barrington, but DEP does not typically do it themselves when they pursue enforcement. It's an option.
Okay. So it's unfortunate that Melissa's not here, because she would know much better, I think, how to deal with an older violation. Because I think that the fact that there may have been an existing dock still doesn't alleviate the overall concern that this is an unpermitted structure in a resource area. And so I'm not entirely sure how we proceed next. Jay, do you have any experience based on prior?
Well, things that are grandfathered in, but 2005 is kind of not super old, but it's old enough. It doesn't look like the footprint changed, but maybe we just kick it down the street to February 14th when Melissa's back and run it by her.
I think that's probably the most appropriate thing to do. Dan, any thoughts from your side?
I don't know. It's not like it's a Chapter 91 water body where it needs like a big license and everything. And I guess I feel like it's my job on the commission lately to be like I don't think it's a big deal guy, but I don't think it's a big deal. It's probably been there a long time, and it would be hard to figure out like when it was there, and if it's really something that's I don't know. So, for example, my family has a dock on the lake and has kind of been in the same place since probably the 1930s, and it's like George Washington's axe with its third head and fifth handle. But, my guess is that this might be kind of like that. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it's a big deal. And how many docks are there in town, and do we know how old they all are, and that kind of thing? And I think the answer is nobody knows, and we don't worry about them, and unless except down at the Oxbow, where we've gone through there've been like participants in the Chapter 91 process once or twice. Plus it's partly floating too, so who knows how the city anchors the floating Christmas tree platform thingamabob that's out in the middle of the pond every year. We know that the boardwalk and those floats were permitted.
Right.
But I don't know. Kind of rambling at this point, but you get the drift, I think.
Do other commissioners care to weigh in?
Do we need to make sure going forward that that this dock that is existing isn't added on to or pulled out and changed? I'm not quite sure what we can do, because it's already there and it's been there, but we don't want it to expand or be changed in a way without any kind of permit. So I don't know how you do that.
It's a good question, because it is about to have a new property owner. Maybe some kind of middle ground could be found where we could provide information to the new property owner that they need to know that if they do want to do something, they have to come for review and get a permit from the commission to potentially do it. Otherwise, I think for most properties, like other areas that isn't in this situation, it's just the Wetland Protection Act exists, and it's the property owner's duty to know that, or responsibility to be aware if they're building anything new or doing anything that would be covered by the act. So yeah, it's a good question.
So are you guys suggesting that if I'm listening to all of you, and I'm hearing you correctly, that maybe my attorney has some sort of language written into the sale that the new owners are not allowed to touch the dock in any way unless they get a permit, and they discuss with you guys on anything, like, they're not allowed to change a board or make a repair to it without a permit, or they're not allowed to extend it or any of that without discussing with you guys.
Maybe enlarging it, not to enlarge it. If the footprint stays the same and they have to replace a board, that doesn't sound like a big deal to me, but maybe not extend anything that's, permanent structure.
Right. I think, I don't, go ahead, I'm sorry.
If we don't think that there's a violation currently, it's not Mr. Couture's duty to make sure that the future owner follows the rules of the Wetlands Protection Act. So I don't know that would be, it might be nice if you were to advise them that this is something they should be aware of, but I don't think it would be your responsibility to write it into any legal documents of the sale. That seems like maybe asking too much of you.
Okay.
So maybe we just run it by Melissa next meeting and see if she has any concerns.
Yeah, I'd like to just look a little bit more at the regs around this since she's not here. But I think, you've all made good points that there are certainly other structures that if we were to chase down all of the existing structures, we could keep ourselves quite busy. And
if Dean had used old dirty wood, we wouldn't have noticed it. So
thank you. I'll remember that next time.
But it seems pretty evident from the pictures that the support structures weren't changed out and that there really wasn't any substantial disturbance to the grades or anything of that nature. So I think it's a different situation than we thought it was when we initially had it brought to our attention.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, so, the next Conservation Commission meeting is February 14th. February 14th. So, Dean, I can stay in touch with you and let you know when that's coming up and just get it, keep you in the loop on that one.
Yeah, might have to clear that with my wife since it's on Valentine's.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. I know.
I'm kidding. It's fine. I can attend the meeting. It's not a problem. My closing is on the 22nd, so that must be the following week, I guess. But I have no problem attending that meeting.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. The next item that I wanted to take, I don't know if someone is here for it. So in the interest of time, I might change my request yet again. It was for the next item, but it's related to, it's very similar to what we just talked about. So maybe if you guys want to just do it anyways, it's 5D for 18 Pine Street. Is anyone here for 18 Pine Street? All right, well, just for the people who are here, if we can actually instead take 7I, that would be nice.
Motion to take 7I out of order.
And that's the Ferry Street Lovefield intersection rotary item.
Do we have a second? Roll call vote. Commissioner August?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan?
Aye.
Commissioner Buttrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we'll move to item 7I, City of Easthampton, Mass DEP file number 151303 for roadway improvements and maintenance of Ferry Street and Pleasant and Lovefield Streets intersection. There's no map and lot associated with that one. We have someone here to speak for that matter.
Essie. This is Jess Applin from Land Stewardship, Inc. I'm assuming I will be speaking for this one.
Yes.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah, sorry. I know Jeff Bagg has also been working on this project a lot with you. My understanding is that you would be able to present the invasive species management plan for this project, which is specifically relating to that that kind of strip along Ferry Street, in between Ferry Street and Lower Mill Pond. And I have the documents that you sent me. I can share them on the screen if you want, or you can do it. I may give you co-host powers, so.
Perfect. If you'd like to share them, that would be excellent.
Okay, cool.
And yes. Okay.
Let me pull it up quick. Hold on. Okay. So I have the proposal and then the management plan. Do you have a preference which one we go over first, Jessica?
Most likely the just the management plan would answer all the questions.
All righty, hold on.
The proposal is the same thing. It just has costs associated with it.
Okay, cool.
Beautiful. So this has been shared with everyone at this point, I'm assuming. So in the interest of time, just let me know what level of detail you'd like me to go into. I'm happy to read through the whole thing or give you the highlights. But we were contacted to draft an invasive plant management plan for that Lower Mill Pond shore bank along Ferry Street. Oh yeah, I can't. I don't have control of the document.
Oh, sorry, I'll scroll down.
I'm trying to scroll through like it's my computer. So I conducted a site visit at the very beginning of October this year, October 6th, to get a species list together and understand site conditions a little bit better. This management plan is based on those observations. So first is a list of all invasive plants that were identified at that time, followed by a list of recommended treatments or the management sequence that we would propose for this site. And that comes, there's also maps, location map, if you're not, I'm assuming you're all familiar with this site. The one specific, not a problem, but something to that we took into consideration was the footing, the slope. There's a lot of complicated factors going into this, managing a site like this. So any of our proposed tasks take that into consideration. You can't have people down on a bank like that with chainsaws. So our first recommendation was to pull a company in that has specialized equipment that can help with prepping that site initially, to get some of the larger debris, everything cut down and cleaned in a way that's safe for everybody. So that's where the mowing and land clearing comes in. About 90%, I'd say, of this bank was invasive plants. There's not a lot of good stuff coming in right now. So the idea being to set it all back, start from scratch, get somebody to clear that out nice and neat so that the invasives can be treated in a very discrete, isolated way. And then to bring in a planting plan once we've seen, what the results are from the initial management, so that the whole bank can be revegetated with native species that are going to help stabilize the bank and get it back to kind of a more healthy functioning edge system, whatever that might look like. So yeah, this is laid out in that order. First, to carefully clean it out, then for, a more hands-on crew to go in and fine-tune that management. There's a lot of climbing bittersweet in the trees, things that a machine probably won't be able to get to, but a human would very easily get to. And then to go in and conduct targeted foliar applications to get the invasive plants in check so that a restoration planting can be conducted. I believe that covers the nuts and bolts of it. And then to continue that process, through, usually we recommend at least 3 years, and then having, a stewardship plan in place so that any new growth can be identified and managed before it has a chance to reestablish itself.
So, Jess, I have a number of questions.
Sure.
First, you mentioned that about 90% of the vegetation currently is invasive, which sounds about right to my memory of the site. And you're talking about a 3-year, at least, plan to knock that back and have it under control. Am I understanding correctly that your thinking is that revegetation with natives or desirable species would come after those 3 years, or would that be beginning earlier?
So not necessarily. Usually at the very end of the first year of heavy management, we would want to come in and assess it to see what makes sense for that site. The revegetation could happen as early as the following year, but it depends on the response of the plants themselves. So as long as the management of the invasives is moving in a positive manner and things are being suppressed, then you can start reintroducing new native plants. You don't want to do it too soon if things aren't responding as quickly as you would like, because then you're fighting kind of against, you're managing invasives within new natives, and that gets a little messy. So it's kind of always this balance. You're kind of dancing with the plants, I guess you'd say. You want to time it right so that you're not getting in there too early, but you don't necessarily have to wait a full 3 years before you're able to get in there either.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's kind of a roundabout way of saying that.
My concern at this particular location is the steepness of the bank, and that if we are wiping out pretty much everything that's there, hopefully successfully, then I'd be concerned about beginning to have erosion issues immediately before we get around to establishing native vegetation. So what would you recommend to avoid that scenario?
Agreed. That's why in the plan, we for the first year, that task for developing the planting plan came into play. Usually we would wait till at least the end of the second year if it was a forested ecosystem. But where this is such a steep slope, assessing that as soon as possible was recommended so that we can kind of figure out those details sooner rather than later. So whether that, and I'm not the restoration expert in terms of the planting plan, that would be my colleague Chris most likely, but if the need was established that we need to get some structure in there quickly, we would be able to make that decision the first year so that it wasn't, whether stakes go in, coir logs, these are things that I've heard from his other plans, that those, decisions could be made quickly.
Okay. And the specialized equipment that you referred to, can you tell us a little bit about what you're envisioning there?
That's where the need to bring in another specialist was suggested. We don't have that type of equipment in our own company or use it, but we've subcontracted and partnered with other companies that do, that have different, and this is where my knowledge base goes very thin very quickly. I can visualize some things. I think Chris might even have the names of some of these pieces of equipment, but the main point being that there are other people way more qualified than us that have these different pieces of machinery that are specialized for different areas or complicated situations like this. The idea being, bring some people in, have some site visits, let them see the conditions of the site and make recommendations and have those conversations ahead of time so that we can partner with the right person and the right piece of equipment.
So are you talking about something that would be, for instance, some sort of long arm mower that would reach over and cut things? Is that the type of equipment you're talking about?
That was my vision, with little understanding of these pieces of equipment, was something, yes, with an arm that can reach up and over and basically mulch and cut things down and pull it back so that you don't have things going in the water, that it can be cut and reduced and pulled back from the bank.
And that you started to touch on my real question there is, how do we prevent, if we've got equipment reaching over and cutting things, how would we prevent material going into the water or otherwise being spread and potentially being carried to other parts of the pond or stream system.
That was the hope with bringing somebody in that has the ability to do that, and stressing that the need for the clean cuts and making sure things aren't falling back. Yeah, that was the whole point of, trying to find somebody that can do that and partner with someone with the right pieces of machinery so that does not happen. Knowing that we can't, not with the equipment that we have, brush saws, chainsaws, things like that, you can't successfully cut things on a bank with that slope without things falling in or people falling in. So the next step there would be to find somebody who can accomplish that.
Okay.
Because it's a tricky site. I mean, some of the plants are even growing up through the water, which I called out as well. There might be things that are left because they can't safely be cut, and that would have to be kind of creatively figured out after, whether that's getting a boat and hand cutting things from a little rowboat, or, there might be some creative management and adaptive strategies that might have to come in after. To prevent that.
I think I, for one, would like to know more about the particular methods that would be involved in that first step before we fully signed off on a plan, because it sounds like it's not yet currently known exactly how that would be done or how the material would be contained.
Right. Yeah, that would be the next step for us too, to start scheduling those meetings with different companies to see what is possible. Because we would need to partner with somebody that we felt good about too.
I also have a question, and then I'll let everyone else jump in, but related to the swallowwort, have you had success with foliar treatment? I personally have found that the only success I've had with it is digging up the roots. On a small scale, I've seen that be successful for sure, as long as you're very tedious and you can get all of it. For the larger populations, we have been starting to see some successes on the eastern part of the state. We manage Blue Hills. There's been extensive swallowwort patches all on the top of Great Blue Hill that has been, we've started to see significantly reduced in the years that we've been managing up there. That said, it's a trickier one. It definitely seems to take longer, and you have to be very meticulous about it. You have to handpick seed pods if the seed pods have come out ahead of time and things like that. But we are starting to see success with it. Do other commissioners have questions or comments?
Dam safety engineer's reminder that it's a dam along Ferry Street from Emerald Place up most of the way towards the intersection. So not being involved with it at all, but avoiding woody vegetation or shrubs on that slope for the replanting plan would be good. And definitely ensuring that there's no erosion would also be good.
Yes, just one more complicating factor for this site.
So am I understanding correctly that you're saying that shrubs or anything large should not be considered for the planting plan because of the dam situation?
Yeah, in general, the Office of Dam Safety's policy on trees on dams is to keep shrubs and woody vegetation at least 20 feet from any embankments associated with the dam. So that extends. I don't exactly know how far it extends in this case. I've never really laid close eyes on this dam in particular, but it probably extends. I'm just gonna guess like halfway between where the spillway is, halfway between there and the entrance to Lower Mill Pond Park. At least, I'm not exactly sure. But if you look in an aerial photo, which I am right now, you can see a shadow from a retaining wall on the north side of the roadway embankment. That's sort of like the downstream face of the dam. So that's all retaining Lower Mill Pond.
Okay, yeah, that's very important to know ahead of time. Because a lot of what's growing on there right now is invasive shrubs.
Yep.
And taking that out and coming up with a good backup structure to prevent erosion if we can't use shrubs is going to be a little more tricky and nuanced. So knowing that ahead of time is very important. Thank you.
Yep. I back when the design and permitting of the Ferry Street area and the roundabout was going on, I think there was some level of dam safety involvement, maybe even a dam safety permit or something. I never saw any of that documentation myself, at least not that I can recall or am aware of, but I imagine the city has something on that, even if it's just like the dam safety permit application or an inspection report or something associated with the project. So it'd probably be good, Cassie, if you could try to find that. I know this because the engineer at McCann was asking me all kinds of questions when he was trying to get it planned out. I was just like, I don't know anything about this dam. I'm not working on this project. Stop asking me questions.
I remember discussing, at least for the certificate of compliance, saying that we wanted to see something from the Office of Dam Safety saying everything was okay. But I will look into the file and see if I can find stuff from the NOI days. If what they said, if anything.
Okay.
Further comments or discussion? All right, so I don't know if others are in agreement, but as I said, I think I would like to see a little more detail as to the methods for containing the material to be cut before we approve this plan. So I don't think there's anything else that you're particularly looking for from us today. Is there, Jess?
Nope. We just wanted to present the plan and get questions and feedback from all of you, which we have. So yeah, our next steps will be to start pulling those people in for site visits and then be able to present you with the best course of action that we get from them and see where the next step is.
Thank you. All right, Cassie.
Yeah,
are we
thanks.
back to agenda order?
Nope, not yet. So we have one more. Item 7S for the 410 Main Street Animal Hospital. It was a stormwater permit only. And there's a request to suspend reporting the stormwater permit. In our orders of conditions, there's
Cassie,
typically...
before you carry on, we need a motion to take this item out of order.
A motion to take 7S out of order.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Commissioner August?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, Cassie, can you please give us an update for Easthampton Animal Hospital, 410 Main Street, stormwater permit only, so there's no DEP number, map 154, lot 8.
Yeah, I'll hand it over to you, Becky, in a second. I just want to explain to the commission. So there is, in the order of conditions that we usually issue that require monitoring, under the same conditions, once a week and then every 0.25-inch rain event, there's a part of that condition that says that they can request to have reporting suspended if work stops and the site is sufficiently stable. That is not in the stormwater permit, that piece saying that they can request for suspension, but I figured maybe it'd be worth a try to ask the commission if that's something that's possible for this stormwater permit, considering the work is done. I can turn to you, Bucky. You submitted a letter as well explaining the state of the site and plans going forward.
Sure. Thank you, Cassie. Good to see you again. And commissioners, my name is Bucky Sparkle. I'm the civil engineer for the project and did the permitting for the stormwater management permit. I've been also the stormwater compliance monitor officer. I'm not sure what my title is actually, but I'm the guy who goes out there currently, according to the permit, at least once a week, and after every rain event within a quarter inch. And I have been doing this, so I've been out there more than once a week since the project began in the fall, and been delighted that the site contractor, Hatfield Construction, has been doing a great job and very responsive if there is anything that's, shifted. So with winter upon us and not a lot of rain and frozen ground, I feel like my having to go out there every week regardless, I mean, this is basically, it's a tax on the owner. Like, I'm going out there, I'm not seeing anything that needs to change. I don't anticipate very much is going to need to change without any rainfall on the horizon. So in that case, and the fact that this has a good history of compliance to date and a responsive contractor, I'd love to take that burden off the local business owner of having to pay for my time to run down there to take a picture and write a memo when everything is just fine. There's a rain event, definitely need to go down there, absolutely. But for a little while, and also I should say that site construction has stopped. They're not going to be doing anything else with the frozen ground until it's not frozen. They're looking at, maybe March or April to getting back out there. The contractor will certainly notify the commission and myself when they're going to start disturbing earth again. They've got good perimeter controls. Even during some very heavy rain events, there was never a discharge from the site. And especially with the work that's mainly steel and structural right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to be out there on a regular basis. So as Cassie said, we are requesting for relief until this site gets to be churned up again in the spring.
I was not, I don't believe I was part of the discussion for the stormwater permit for this site. Can you remind me if this is greater than an acre of disturbance and subject to the...
No, it's not. It's less, the site is less than 1 acre in total.
Okay. And do we know, Cassie or other commissioners, if the stormwater permit, when we have projects that are under both wetland protections and stormwater, we've been able to suspend the stormwater reporting as well as general site reporting for erosion controls. Is that correct?
So in the sense that if a site is a SWIP, they still have to do the reporting that's whatever is required for the SWIP. But in terms of sending it over to us and having it be additionally reviewed by us, we have that option, and it's always listed in the order of conditions as one, because it's a little redundant when we have both the stormwater permit and the order. The language in the stormwater permit doesn't include that. And I think, that's something I think we could consider going forward for new stormwater permits, is including that language. And I think that, were I to write this stormwater permit today, I potentially would have suggested including it for this permit.
Yeah, and certainly thinking back to whenever it was, a week or two ago, when we had all of that rain that we thought was going to be snow, the conditions then were definitely such that I would want to have someone going out and checking. But it sounds like, Bucky, you're not asking to have the permitting or the reporting suspended in that condition, only the weekly reporting if there's been no significant rain events. Is that correct?
That's correct. I would very much want to visit that site after a quarter-inch rain event within 24 hours. I have confidence that things will be fine, but I would definitely want to be down there. But if it's, doesn't get above freezing for 10 days and there's no precipitation, it's, it looks like that could be a good hunk of the next several months. So maybe we can ease off on the weekly requirement.
Comments or questions from other members of the commission?
I have no concern suspending it for while the ground's frozen and no work's being performed.
Sounds reasonable to me as well.
All right, I think we typically have a formal motion when we're making these decisions. Would anyone care to suggest one?
I'll make a motion that we suspend recording for this site for rain events that are less than 1/4 of an inch.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. Commissioner August? Commissioner Ryan?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so we'll suspend reporting, and when construction picks back up in the spring, Cassie, then we'll ask Bucky to let us know that, or the contractor to let us know that construction is moving again, and that will signal us to reconvene with the regular protocol.
Yep, that's my understanding. And I'll write up a memorandum to that effect, and I'll send it to you, Bucky, and everyone else. I'll have it in your file, so it'll be noted that the suspension has been approved, and just highlighting, let us know when you get started again and keep going for rain events. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for your time.
Have a good night.
Okay, so if you guys are ready, we can go back to regular agenda order, way back up at 5D. I think, oh no, wait, it might be like 5A, which I don't even have to.
Were there any other updates on enforcement actions?
Only for item 5D at 18 Pine Street.
Okay.
Okay, so I met with the property owner, responded to my letter right away, and it's Mr. Sam Taylor. We did a site visit on January 20th of this year, and I want to show you the pictures. So when I talked to him on the phone, he is the property owner, and he rents it out to tenants, so he's not there all the time. His understanding when we talked on the phone before the site visit was that there was not a dock, but at the site visit when we got there, it looks like the tenants may have created a kind of like dock out of a pallet, and I can show you the pictures. It's, I want to say, at most 5 foot by 5 foot, and so, he said he didn't know it was there. I'm not sure how it's secured. Okay, this is the yard. This is a side view from the other dock. And this is it, approaching it from the yard. No stairs. There's the structure itself. That's the last picture. So yeah, it's maybe big enough for 2-3 people to stand on. And I could not tell. It was all frozen. I couldn't tell how it was attached to the ground. And he couldn't either, but it kind of looks like potentially it's partially embedded, at least at this end of the pallet, into the ground. And it must be on something if people are standing on it, I guess. And he said he was amenable to whatever the commission wanted to do with regards to that, because if it needs to be removed, we'll remove it. If it can stay, that's great. If whatever, he's very cooperative and good to work with.
Can you show the side view again from the other dock?
Yeah, just a second. There you go. On a cinder block, maybe? I can't tell.
Yeah, I can't tell. Yeah, it could be.
Well, I can confirm with certainty that there was no prior structure here, because I think I mentioned last time that I used to rent this property.
Right.
And there's been some vegetation clearing, it looks like, by the tenants as well, because there was no path to the bank. It was very much weedy and it was mostly invasive vegetation, nothing of much value, but there's definitely been some alterations there. So I think it would be in order, maybe once the ground begins to thaw in the spring, to ask for some sort of restoration here to remove the structure and replant that slope, which used to at least be better protected against erosion.
Okay.
Others have thoughts?
Yep.
Can I ask when you moved out, so that I can just put it like a year of when at least it's new since then at some point?
It's new since November of 17.
Okay. Okay. For restoration, would that include the removal of the structure? Would it include like actual plantings, or just leaving it alone and allowing it to revegetate?
I would suggest possibly plantings, but I'm interested in hearing what others think.
Maybe we just get our eyes on it in the spring when we can see what's really going on there.
Yeah, I guess if there's, it's going to matter too, whether there's been greater disturbance of the slope to anchor that in some fashion, or if it's just kind of sitting there.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because one thing, the way that we can proceed, that the commission could proceed if they wanted to, is to, issue, now having reviewed this, issue the enforcement order, and just word it that there should be some kind of restoration. I do think we should determine if the structure should be removed or not. That'd be helpful for me writing the enforcement order, and then the enforcement order just kind of is this placeholder until the resolution, whatever action the commission wants to do, is achieved. You don't have to do it that way. You can just say, it's up to you guys whether or not you want to issue the enforcement order or not, really. So the enforcement order can just be another way to like have a record of this needs to happen, and then once it happens, you lift it.
But if they remove it now and expose whatever is not growing underneath there, we could have some kind of erosion issue.
That's true.
So the removal has to kind of go with the restoration plan to make sure it stays stable, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess if the stability is the main concern, it could be let it stay and then let all the vegetation come back. I don't know if that's appropriate, but.
Well, I don't know that we want to let it stay. I think if it's going to stay in the long term, it probably needs to be properly permitted. And, right now it's not clear if it's actually securely anchored or if it could fall into the pond and become debris. So I think all of those things need to be cleared up. But I think we need to probably issue something now with the understanding that there should be no change until a site visit when the weather thaws in the spring. That would be my inclination.
That sounds good.
So looking at the enforcement order, it does say, let's see, it has me describe the violation. So when I describe it, I'll say that, installation of this structure and the clearing of vegetation. And then, and then once and then you have options to say it's in violation of an order, or, it's supposed to get permit. So obviously it's not in violation of an existing order. We need to get, if they want to keep it, they need to get a permit. So then the options are there's a bunch of check boxes. So the first one is the property owner, his agents, permittees, and all others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and resource areas, which I would recommend checking that off. The next option, you can include resource area alterations resulting from said activity shall be corrected and the resource areas returned to their original condition, which it sounds like we're leaning towards checking that off as well. And then the third option is to also include a restoration plan shall be filed with the issuing authority on or before a certain date for the following. And then you can add in, more specifically where you want that restoration plan to be. So I guess that's your decision. If you want to have it just be, they're going to have to restore it, leave it at that. We'll talk about it in the spring, or restoration plan. And then we can put the date as sometime in the spring.
Yeah, because I don't think we know what the plan should be right now. So, just say that they're going to have to restore it, but we don't know what we need to do yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then, sorry, there's a fourth option to require them to complete a notice of intent for the work, which it sounds like you guys don't want to do at this time, unless they fight to keep it, and then we can say you have to get an order. But talking to him, it didn't seem like that was a course of action he was interested in taking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, I guess I was going to say I'd be hesitant to just check off like restore the resource area, because then it might give the impression that he didn't just do what he thinks he should do. But then, checking the development restoration plan box makes it sound like he might think he has to do a lot more than we really expect him to also. So, I don't know.
I know, I do like that one option lets you put a date on it, because then we'd be like, hey, we're coming back in the spring. Though we do, in the way that we have our agenda, include all these open items. I'll have in my notes that we are to come back and talk to them in the spring.
Right.
Yeah, so what if we were to check off 1 and 3, and then Cassie, you can just clarify with him what we're thinking, and that we'd like to take a closer look and discuss it in the spring.
I think I can do that. I think I can put that language in the order where it says for the following, and then I can just say, general restoration to be determined at that date. So specific details to be determined at that date. We can do it that way, I think.
That seems reasonable. Do you need a motion from us?
Yeah, so you guys would have to vote to issue the order of the enforcement order, and you can just say for the described violations, the previously described violations, finding that
A motion to issue an enforcement order as discussed.
yeah, that works.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Commissioner August?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. So Cassie, you'll draft the order as discussed.
Yep, I can definitely do that. Do you have a specific date in mind? Otherwise, I can just say like April or May, March, April, or May, I guess, for the date that we want to follow it up by.
April.
April.
I heard both April and May. Let's go April 15th.
Okay.
Split the difference. I have no idea what day of the week that is, so maybe you want to check.
I'll check, but within that week.
Friday.
All right. So that moves us out of enforcement actions to open space updates. Cassie, any updates on Echodale West or the Lathrop community?
No updates.
All right. Compliance updates. We've talked about a number already. Are there others, rather than go through one by one? Do you want to let us know which ones have updates?
Yeah, so the first one that I want to talk about is the school at 200 Park Street. So that one, I did a site visit on January 14th, and I just wanted to discuss and check in with them because they're entering into the demolition phase. All the work on the half of the property where the new school is pretty much done, and things are, stable, and all the erosion controls are in place, and they're not doing much in the way of ground disturbance over there anymore. Now it's all shifted over to the other side in the area of the existing school and that associated parking lot. So there's a large area of that has been disturbed now, essentially within that old parking lot. And the current focus for them right now is on the utility installation for the athletic field that's going to go there. They're working on completing the fill and grade for that because it's coming up pretty high compared to what it was. And then they're going to shift focus to the building demolition, the actual takedown of the building, which likely is going to begin in February. They may have started interior removal of materials, but the actual big building exterior coming down February, March. They're not sure exactly when that's going to happen.
They said they were doing abatement and removing hazardous things. And
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly. They got to remove all the hazardous material first. And then currently the actions that they're taking, because for this big new exposed area, is that at the end of each workday, they're compressing the soil. And then there's, erosion controls set up. I made the recommendations at the site visit that there's one riprap line basin that had some accumulation of silty, sandy material in it that, it wasn't leaving that basin, but I was like, you should probably clean this out just because it's, starting to build up here. I also recommended that they extend the erosion controls along the rear of the existing building. Right now, it kind of just goes to where there's a bend in the road, but it should extend all the way down because they're taking soil from the rear of the school and then driving around that existing road. And so just in case something spilled off of those trucks moving, they said they would do that. And then I requested that they increase the controls near that. We've had a lot of discussion about that catch basin that's at the end of the existing parking lot, and that's going to be removed and capped and not going to exist anymore. But I asked that they put in additional controls just in that area because it's just immediately down. That's the closest wetland resource area immediately down from all this loose soil. So they were talking about potentially putting in a berm or, additional controls. Right now, since that site visit, let me just pull it up. They just gave me a quick update.
When was your site visit, Cassie?
On the 14th of this month, and the report I last received was for the 21st. And in that one, they said the items requested were completed and done by FBI/Guy Gaducci. They've continued to roll the material at the end of the day. The other items remaining at this time that are not completed due to the sub-zero temperatures with wind chill is the frozen ground and water. They'll keep an eye on the site, and as soon as nature allows, these items will be taken care of. If you have any questions, contact me. So then in the report itself, let's see. The water is frozen inside that basin, so they want to wait till they can actually clear the basin better before they remove that built up sediment. Showing pictures of the site being rolled over. They haven't installed that additional silt fencing yet, just because they can't penetrate the ground. And then, yeah, they're going to do that as soon as they can get it into the ground. And I can share the photos of the site visit if you guys want. I have those ready to go.
So Cassie, it sounds like you were out there right before we had all of that rain, correct? Do we know how I assume that must have been more than a quarter inch. Did we receive a report for that event? I'm interested to know how it fared since the ground was frozen and we got a lot of water.
Right. I have, let me see what if I received a report before that.
I think that was the 16th.
Probably.
15th, 16th.
Yeah, no, I actually don't have one from them. Sorry. Yeah, I have one from the 7th and then from the 21st. So I can ask them about that specifically in their report from the 21st. They're reporting that everything was okay, but I can go out there too if you guys want. Again, to check on that.
Did we receive reports from other sites that are required under a quarter inch event to report?
I can go through and check them all now. Hold on. Yeah, we got one from 410 Main Street, which Bucky was doing just now. We got it on the 18th. Let's see who else is there.
So we don't need you to check for all of them right this minute, I think, but that would be something I think to follow up on.
Yeah, for sure. I can do that. Do you guys have any other comments based off of just going into this demolition phase? I mean, we generally also at the site visit talked about, the implications of all the soil open again and things in the springtime, being prepared for the springtime once things start to thaw out. I plan to reach out to them again in late February, early March, just, or whenever weather starts getting warmer, just make sure they're prepared.
I think you said they're purposefully compacting the soil each day?
That's correct.
Is that part of the plan? What is that area going to be in the end?
It's going to be the athletic fields, the new athletic fields.
Okay. That seems odd that it seems like that would be counterproductive to ultimate drainage, but I don't remember what was the intent for the site there.
Didn't they say they were raising it like 8 feet?
Right. So compacting it will just help it if it did rain, which is we're probably not going to get rain at this point, but if it did rain, having it compacted just keeps the erosion down than just having the material just kind of bulldoze all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think they're not like using a tool to like stamp it down. They're just driving over with like a roller
That vibrates, vibrating roller.
But there wasn't a concern with all that exposed soil and those huge mounds, right? I think they said they weren't going to cover it each day, just to work on it.
When there was the big stockpiles, and it's true for this part of the construction is that they're changing it every day. They're working on it every day. So that's why they weren't putting in these other additional like temporary stabilization measures like, I don't know, like rye or erosion control blankets, because they're just moving it all again or adding to it every day.
Sure.
So the focus was shifted on the edge limit of work controls.
I guess we'll see in the spring.
I'll be reaching out to them for sure before then. Okay. There's no other questions about that one. Then the next was, 99 Mount Tom Avenue. This is for that outfall restoration project, kind of near like Cherry Street and all that. They submitted a planting plan. Yes.
I need to recuse from this one because my firm's involved in that project.
Okay, let me put that on here. Okay, so thank you for that. They submitted a planting plan, a restoration planting plan that they developed with Piscomic Conservation Trust, and they are seeking approval of it from the commission. So let me share my screen real quick.
What number was this? I'm sorry.
This is item 7Q, I believe, or is it 7R?
Q.
Q, yes, 7Q. So let's see. So they have, based on the input from Piscomic, the natural vegetation, excluding invasives, and their observations of the natural vegetation, they've updated the planting plan and are proposing a mix of plugs as follows, distributed as appropriate to the wetter versus drier areas on the slope. So striped maple, sensitive fern, ostrich fern, skunk cabbage, and then live stakes of dogwoods and red maples. In addition to the plugs and stakes, a seed mix is needed for greater coverage and stabilization, particularly for the soil, soil lifts proposed. Based on the number of site factors, relative moistures, soils, sun, shade, we in PCT find the best option to be the New England Roadside Upland seed mix from New England wetland plants. This mix includes dogwoods and staghorn sumac, which should dominate over time since the site won't be mowed. In the short term, grasses will establish quickly and provide stabilization along with showy wildflower displays that will dissipate over time. We have seen this kind of transition happen at other restoration projects with similar site conditions. For wetter areas, that are in nearly full shade, we have discussed trying to purchase jewelweed seeds as that species is abundant on site and is likely to spread naturally. Another option is to use annual rye as a stabilizer in these areas. You may remember that the order of conditions issued requires that we work with PCT to finalize the planting plan and have that plan reviewed / approved by the Conservation Commission. Please let me know if you have any questions, need clarification, or on the revised plan described above.
Who's in charge now?
Oh, right.
Well, I can ask for a motion, but, I'm not going to be able to comment too much on the actual restoration. So we kind of don't have all our best experts.
Yeah. So is this all we have, Cassie? I don't remember the drawings well enough to remember where the restoration areas are and that kind of thing.
I can show you the drawings. Hold on just a second. So let's see here. See if this is the best one. So this is the area, and then, it extends down along here as well. So they originally proposed a wetland seed mix and then conservation seed mix at the top. This is really sloped here, the blue section. And then in the restoration work for the outfall itself, it's going to be a bioengineered slope, stabilized with the wetland seed mix, and then restore with live stakes and conservation seed, restore with live stakes and wetland seed mix in these areas. So they hadn't, in the original order that was approved, they didn't specify what those plants explicitly would be or what the seed mixes would explicitly be. But it does, to me, sound like they are following still this general layout. They want to follow this general layout, and then the specification is what they've proposed in that other document of the actual plants to be used.
Yep. So if we go back to the other document, can we line up in there where the different plants they're proposing would fit in with these different areas?
Mm-hmm.
So they mentioned live stakes.
Okay, let's see. It's giving me trouble. Hold on a second. Okay, so wetter and drier areas of the slope is going to be, so keep this in your mind, striped maples, sensitive ferns, ostrich ferns, and skunk cabbage on the slopier areas. So conservation mix, this is just going to have that. So restore with live stakes and conservation seed mix. So I think my understanding is that in these sloped areas, that's what's proposed, those maples, the ferns, and the skunk cabbage. And potentially here as well. And then those are the live stakes that would be used, dogwoods and red maples in those same areas. And then all over, they're going to use this seed mix, particularly in the soil lifts. So this New England Roadside Upland seed mix would be used primarily here, I think is where the lifts are proposed, where this bioengineered slope is.
Mm-hmm.
For wetter areas that are in nearly full shade, they want to purchase jewelweed seed and then also potentially use annual rye as a stabilizer. So which of these areas is fully in shade? It's hard for me to say, but.
Yep. And do they have a detail for the bioengineered slope? Just
they likely do.
a few cross section or something. I guess I'm kind of thinking we should just, if they don't need an answer like now, maybe we should punt this for when we can get Melissa's view on it, because I'm not really familiar. I've never actually heard of some of the species before.
Okay.
Let's just kick it to the next meeting then.
Yeah, not that I'm an expert.
You want to look at this detail still, or you just want to wait until?
Yeah, let's just look at it, I guess. Yeah, so that shows like live cutting and things. So I guess if we could for me, I think like I'd like a little more clarification on what's going where. And I think it kind of makes sense based on what they're saying. But just I'm also just not familiar with the species. So I guess punt to the next meeting and see what Melissa says.
Okay.
Can you show the plan view one more time? So let me just try to hold this in my mind. So live cuttings in between the layers and then.
I wonder if this. Oh, this is talking about the grade. It's probably more helpful to be the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, and one more time the plant list.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry.
It's no problem.
Yeah. Dogwoods and maple. I've never actually heard of maple live stakes before. But yeah, usually I picture like willow and other things for. I think I have heard of dogwood live stakes. But yeah, I guess I don't know how well these things move or anything like that. So let's put it in the next meeting, see what Melissa says.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. I will communicate that to them. The next thing, 50 Florence Road. We've never finished the invasive species plan review. And, considering what y'all just said for that last one, I don't know if you also want to wait for that. So I guess Julie might be able to come back for this one, but it's up to you guys how you want to approach it. I can share it now if you guys want.
Yeah, I think I missed the first meeting when we did the invasive species plan review, and I thought it was what we were going to be talking about that day when I was driving in the car, and we ended up talking about the culvert issue, and I was like, before we talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, I reviewed all the documents ahead of time, and then like as I was driving, I was kind of like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I don't think I was involved in the first go around of this plan.
Let's see. Well, that being said, we can look at it now. I can share it on my screen if you guys want, or if you want more time again to look at it, it's up to you guys.
Cassie, can you remind us what changed since it's been a few weeks, I think.
I know, yeah.
What had we asked for, or did we just want to look at it more closely?
Well, the last couple times it was just that we wanted more time to take a closer look. Honestly, I think I need to go back to the minutes to see. I know that they did make changes based off of what was requested, but I'd have to go back.
It sounds like a next meeting problem.
I was going to say, would you be able to put together for us just a quick summary from the notes of what we said we wanted to look more closely at, just to jog our memories, and then send out the current version again with maybe, if it's not too much trouble, send it out by itself, just those two things with a please do this, so that it's not buried in the rest of the tasks for next meeting.
Right.
That'd be helpful for me, at least.
No, I can definitely do that. That sounds good.
I assume there hasn't been a lot of urgency for them to get an answer on this, given the weather, correct?
That's correct. And yeah, the project, has started, but I don't think they'd be able to implement the plan yet anyway, so.
Okay.
Okay, that was it for me in terms of compliance updates. So I'll send that out. The next thing, if you guys are ready, is meeting minutes. Are you guys ready for that?
Yep.
So I do want to make a note. At the last meeting, we started kind of quickly and didn't do the normal attendance kind of coverage that we normally do, just saying who's here and who's not here for that meeting, because the meeting had to start a little late. So I just want to make a note that Commissioner August wasn't there, but she did have advance notice of that, and that's reflected in the minutes. And I think that's it. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Deb, or does that make sense?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was known.
Okay, so if Deb wasn't at that meeting, do we have a quorum? For
I will say, and I guess this is up to the Vision of the Commission, she did watch the meeting so that she could help with the reviewing of the minutes for just grammatical errors and such, or other general errors. So I don't know if that makes it so she can vote. I think potentially we've done that in the past, but I can't remember.
I have no idea.
No
I think
idea.
we have a quorum anyways.
We do have a quorum anyways.
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure we do.
If we do, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we will, because we'll still have 4 people
Four
here.
people, so we're good.
Great.
So a motion to approve the minutes from January 10th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. August?
Nope, she's recused.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain. Sorry.
Ryan?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye. Do we say Deborah was absent without notice
With
or with notice?
With.
Don't start
All right.
trouble.
motion carries. So we'll approve those minutes. Thank you, Cassie.
Yeah, sorry that it was that beginning of the last meeting was so flustered. I didn't know that there was one happening right in front of our meeting. So there's only one Zoom account that is shared. So I was I was scrambling. So apologize for missing that part.
All right. General business. We had the draft tree cutting policy review on here. Have folks had a chance? Did anyone take the time to give it another look? Or I should say anyone that wanted to.
I didn't want to, but I did look at it again.
Well, we appreciate that extra effort, Michael. Thank you.
Not only because people were asking me, so I was curious.
Yeah, I know you emailed me about it, Mike. Was that response helpful? I know that you were worried that if it's a hazard, would people have to go through this process? And what I tried to explain was that right now, as it stands, they're supposed to get an RDA. They're supposed to go through, come to a meeting, submit the applications, come to a meeting, do a site visit. It's pretty long. Other communities have developed tree policies like this to kind of expedite that process, so that if they can get an arborist to just say it's, to look at it and confirm it is indeed a hazard to, their property and, themselves and things like that, then if they can meet all this criteria, it's less than 5, they're going to leave the stump. I can't remember all the details. Then I have the ability to approve that removal or that cutting, as long as it's meeting all that criteria. If I'm uncomfortable with it, I can say, nope, you still have to go to the commission. Or if it's not meeting their criteria, I can say, no, you got to go still see the commission, is how it's written now. And then the tree warden wouldn't really be involved. She did review this policy and provided comments, but in terms of enacting the policy in the future, she wouldn't really be involved because she only has jurisdiction over city-owned trees. If the tree, we're talking about trees that are on private property and the property owner is coming to me. If there was a tree that was deemed a hazard on city property, they would come to me, and it'd probably be the tree warden who would submit the application. But the hope is that through this policy, you're generating at least a way to document these happening and make sure that it's happening in a way that these ones that truly are an emergency are happening in a way that's safe for the wetlands, whereas ones that need more review are getting more review, and then overall there's a record of everything. Whereas right now, I don't know, I haven't had hardly any requests for tree removal, so I wonder if they're just happening anyways, like people are just doing them, or if people are not doing it because they know they have to go through this long process or what. So that's the goal at least.
Okay, so the application requirements, you need an arborist regardless?
Yeah, either way, just so that, you know, there's someone who's professional agreeing that this is a hazard and they make sense to be removed, and what actions need to be taken to make it not a hazard anymore. Because that's, the policy also says, like, you can't just remove the entire tree unless you have a reason to do that. If the whole thing is a hazard, then go ahead. But if you just need to, you know, for it to actually truly not be a hazard, just remove a few limbs, then that's what we're going to approve for you. If you want to remove the whole thing, you'd have to come for further, you have to get a permit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I didn't get. If you need the arborist just for a hazardous tree, or is that part of the application?
Yeah, it's like the arborist part is key to prove that it's a hazard and that you're removing the parts that are needed to make it not a hazard. And that was, so that was a recommendation from the tree warden, when she reviewed it, was saying that it should be a certified arborist.
And how do people know that their trees are in jurisdictional areas in the first place?
It's a good question. And I think that, you know, in a technical sense, it's the property owner's responsibility to know that, or to figure that out. Otherwise, in my opinion, it's like, I would hope people would reach out to me and I can tell them and help them know if they need to. I would use they use Mass Mapper now. Mass Oliver doesn't exist anymore, but I would use the publicly available data to help kind of make that determination. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's the same answer to how does somebody know that they need an RDA or an NOI. I mean, you have to assume that people have some knowledge of the requirements associated with wetlands. And if not, then they're probably not pursuing the right path. But hopefully we can spread the word and get some education out around this as well.
I have a more pessimistic view that more than half have no idea.
It's possible. I mean, but it's a weird problem because I don't know what to do about that. You know?
Yeah, it may very well be true, but it doesn't change the regulations. So we have to work with the regulations.
Is this on the Easthampton website?
Not yet, because it has not been approved. Yeah.
Okay. So would it be under the commission or separate if somebody's, you know, wanted to look it up?
Yep, it would be under the commission. I'd add it to the website and just have a link to the policy and the form. And then I'd have, you know, printouts here so you could have in terms of spreading it around, though. Otherwise, I don't know what means we would have to do that, you know.
I should know this, so I won't ask, but I will anyway. Riverfront area, you have stream or river.
If it's a perennial stream, then it has a 200-foot riverfront area associated with it that extends from the mean annual high water mark.
And then anything non-perennial would fall under wetland resource.
That would just be an intermittent stream, and it has a 100-foot buffer zone associated with it.
Okay. I'll analyze it more for the next meeting.
Do we need more time to look at it? Is that the general consensus? We've been pushing this off a number of times.
There's not, well, that is true. It's been continued a number of times. There's not a rush either to put it in place. So I do want it to be looked at carefully because it is going to be like a policy. So whatever you guys need to feel comfortable and feel like it is like truly reviewed. If we got to continue it, that's okay with me, at least.
I know Melissa asked last time about when we were meeting about the solar farm, about DPH for tree size. Most of the forests are not old forests. Are there any modifications needed there, or are we still going with?
No, and so that was about the solar ordinance, and it was talking about like how to quantify how much, like big stands of trees are going to be removed. And they had put that anything over with the 20 inch plus DBH should be included in that review. That doesn't really apply here because it's really any tree over, a sapling, or I think I have a specific DBH in the policy. I can pull it up
We
real
do,
quick.
it's
but
12.
12, yeah.
And I think having the two in alignment would make a lot of sense. If we're considering that a tree of 12 inches is a certain value, then it probably should be of a certain value to both policies.
Okay. That's good to know. So I will talk to Curtis about that then and see what he's landing on as going to be his DBH. I mean, if we did 20, it would just be really big for most trees probably would not fall under the policy.
Well, and our advice was that 20 was too large.
Yeah.
Because there aren't that many. I mean, that rules out a lot of trees.
Yeah.
Just like you said.
Yeah. So I think that we landed on 12. I'll have to review the tree warden's comments, but I think it's from the tree warden's comments. So maybe that's a good way to inform the ordinance and just say, yeah, go with 12 because that's what we got. So.
Mm-hmm.
She agreed that the size classification looked good. So it didn't come from her, but she agreed that was a good idea. I don't know where that number came from. But yeah, I'll talk to you.
Should we give ourselves a deadline and just say next meeting, final comments, questions, and then final version to be voted on the meeting after that?
Let's. So final comments and questions on the 14th. And we can either vote then if everyone is comfortable, or if not, we will vote on, I'm guessing, the 28th. Is that even a day in February this year? It is, right? There's always a 28th.
It always is.
Yes, the next meeting's the 28th of February.
And who does the final approval of this?
You guys.
Or the verbiage? Does that?
I think you just take a vote to not issue it to, I don't know. I'll look up, I'll research that too, I guess.
I didn't know if someone else needed to weigh in. Okay. And we did say cut/altered meant pruning, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Cassie, any other general business?
That's it.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call vote. Commissioner August? Ryan?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
So moved. It is 8:11. We are adjourning the Conservation Commission meeting. We will meet again on February 14th at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Good night.
Thank you.